Okay, good morning. I'm going to call to order the 8 o'clock Judicial and Public Safety Committee meeting. Can we get a roll call, please?
Chair Evans.
Here.
Member Chaplin.
Here.
Member Childress.
Yes.
Member Dessart. Here. Member Eckhoff. Member Guston. Member Krajewski. Member Ozog. Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu. Member Zay.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments today?
No public comment.
Okay, no public comments. Wonderful. So let's move on to the chair remarks. Good morning, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful President's Day weekend. I wanted to take this moment to acknowledge that February is Black History Month. And here in the JPS world, we have two history makers here. We've got Michael Childress, who is the first Black county board member in DuPage County, and also Chantel Porter is the first Black female judge to serve here in the Illinois 18th Judicial Circuit. So I want to thank both of them for stepping up and serving and becoming a proud part of DuPage County. And before we get into today's agenda, I want to mention a few items that I was made aware of on Friday afternoon from the Circuit Court. Last Friday, they received word from the state of Illinois that they received the Illinois Court Technology Modernization Program grant for $142,725.44. Due to the timing, it was not able to be placed on today's agenda. However, they have asked if this item can be discharged and go directly to the Finance Committee and County Board on the 28th. I will make the motion to discharge at next Tuesday's meeting for this. Additionally, we will see a few procurement requisitions in relation to this grant. These items will be the necessary IT equipment that will be purchased with the grant money received. And I also wanted to share that starting next month, I will be working to invite speakers to the JPS committee to talk about relevant topics to this committee. So I'm hoping for once a month, depending on what else we have going on. But I'm excited to bring some people in here and, maybe teach us all some things about what they do in DuPage County. And with that, can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 7th? Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion carries. And next we will go to item number 6, resolutions. Can I get a motion to approve JPSR 005323, ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between DuPage County and the DuPage Forest Preserve for an easement within a portion of Hidden Lake Forest Preserve? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries. And number 7, we have budget transfers. Can I get a motion to approve 230834, transfer of funds from accounts sheriff special duty overtime, furniture, machinery, equipment, small value, printing and operating supplies and materials to cell phone stipend in the amount of $46,000 due to the fact that cell phone stipends are paid to deputies for time on call. The requirement for on-call time is over budget due to open head count, leading to requiring existing deputies to cover shortages. Second, okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Next, we have item 230825. Can I get a motion to approve this item? The transfer of funds from accounts printing, software licenses, and repair and maintenance auto equipment in the amount of $66,700 for renewal of QuickBooks for the sheriff's bank accounts and to Mac Auto for repairs on damaged vehicles. Okay, and any discussion? Member Krajewski?
This is for Jeff. Do we still have accounts that are off the system? Of the ERP?
Yes, and this would be one of them. Some of the departments don't utilize the county's general ledger. So they'll use a program like QuickBooks, and then they'll send us over reports to put on the general ledger.
I mean, some of these you can put right on a, ERP system. Does that increase your time?
No, they're writing journal entries. Basically, I mean, all the detail that would be in QuickBooks for that particular bank account.
Maybe next, when we, because this, whatever, the software system's only for a few more years and we get the new in. We tried that several years ago to encourage all these off system accounts to be put on, so everybody's in one spot.
Yeah.
You know how many we have? I don't need it now, but maybe how many we still don't have on the system.
I can get them. There's a handful throughout, the sheriff and the circuit court clerk, and some other areas, but I can get a count.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
We have that.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next we have item 7C. Can I get a motion to approve 230836? Transfer of funds from IT equipment, software to contingencies in the amount of $21,946 for the following reason. The state's attorney Children's Advocacy Center received a grant award that will pay for most of the fiscal year 23 costs of the Axon and Sourcewell contracts for interview room equipment, installation, and software. This budget transfer returns funds previously transferred from general fund special accounts contingencies to pay for these expenditures. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, the motion carries. And next we have item 7D. Can I get a motion to approve 230837, transfer of funds from regular salaries and medical services to overtime, holiday pay, and other professional services in the amount of $40,309 to cover the expenses of overtime, holiday pay, and other professional services that were incurred from bargaining unit members and outside contractors. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, the motion carries. And next we have item 7E. Can I get a motion to approve 230838, transfer of funds from regular salaries to operating supplies and materials in the amount of $1,825 to account for year-end budget variances. Expenses are under budget in total for fiscal year 22. Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, the motion carries. And item number 8, can I get a motion to put on file item 230839, Public Defender's Office January 2023 monthly statistical report? Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, the motion carries. Any old business? Okay, Member Chaplin.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment at our last meeting, Member Eckhoff mentioned that we were losing, we didn't have sheriffs. It was hard to hire because of the Safety Act. But, just doing a little research, there was an article from CNN News late last year talking about police departments from Atlanta to Kansas to Portland are, all across the country. There's a shortage with their ranks of patrol officers to 911 operators. So it's really not a problem unique to DuPage County. It is a county-wide, it's a countrywide actually issue. So I think when we're, taking legislation and blaming legislation for our problem with hiring deputies, that's probably not completely 100% accurate. So I just wanted to get that on the record. And as long as we're on old business, I just wanted to mention too that yesterday at the DeSantis event in Elmhurst, Sheriff Mendrick showed up in uniform, and he's free to do what he wants. His First Amendment right to speech, but wearing his uniform is representing DuPage County. And I just want to remind our residents that DuPage County adopted an inclusion and diversity pillar in our strategic plan. It's very important to us that we are an inclusive and diverse community. We are trying so hard to work together and not have divisive rhetoric, especially again, we want to teach our history, our Black history, our brown history. We want to teach all history, good history, bad history, beautiful history, ugly history. It's all important. We want to accept our LGBTQ community members. We don't want to harm them by disparaging them with comments that are hurtful and mean-spirited and totally lack understanding. So like I said, I think it's important that DuPage County knows that although the sheriff went in uniform, that is absolutely not the views of this. Well, like I said, the board adopted an inclusive and diversity pillar. And I mean, it's been very important to us. So I just want to make it clear that that is not
Point of
our
order, what does this
position.
have to do with judicial public safety?
Because you know what, the sheriff should be calling for calm, and
This
by
was a
going-
private event by the Chicago FOP. It has nothing to do with the county of DuPage.
well,
The
he was
sheriff
there
has
in
one
uniform.
amendment to
Person
right
at a
to show up
time
anything
talking.
he wants
Yes,
to show up to.
And I was speaking, Jim, and he showed up in uniform. That's different. If he went as a private citizen, that would be different, but he showed up in uniform, and I'm sorry.
Can
that
you tell
is-
me at what time the sheriff of DuPage County is not the sheriff of DuPage County? Is there a time
I
that
think,
he goes and he punches a clock and says that he's not a sheriff or not?
yes,
Hey,
right. And I'm sorry, Jim, but you know what? It does have something to do with judicial public safety, because keeping the calm and trying to stop that divisiveness is very important. Our sheriff is a sheriff, I hope, for everyone. I would hope that. And I'm just saying it is concerning, and I just wanted to make it clear that is not the position of this board. We adopted an inclusion and diversity pillar, and that is all that that is all that I want to make clear.
okay,
Person,
wait,
she
one
na-
person
she
at a
named
time.
me.
Hang on, one person at a time. Member Zay, did you want to respond?
Well, I mean, just point of order. What does this have to do with judicial public safety and inclusion and diversity? It has nothing to do with it. If you want to talk about something else, again, this was a private event, had nothing to do with DuPage County. Did you talk to the sheriff? Was the sheriff doing security there? Do you know anything? Did you talk to him before you want to publicly go into a meeting and try to discredit him? No, you didn't. You're just doing it for political gain. That's all it is. And it's got to stop on this board.
Member Ucko?
And, well, I hate to say this, but I actually agree with CNN for once. That Member Chaplin talked about regarding the fact that it's a nationwide problem finding officers, because laws like what were passed in the Safety Act in Illinois have been passed throughout the country. So it is a national problem finding police officers and women throughout the country. Regarding whether or not the sheriff wore his uniform, I don't understand how that equates to being divisive or anything, and LBGQ or whatever you're talking about. I don't understand how it automatically makes him some type of divisive person, or how you come to that conclusion. And nobody on this board's that way. I haven't seen anybody in the county that way. What? You want to talk to me, or you want to keep mumbling down there?
Okay, yeah, one person speaking at a time. Member Eckhoff is speaking right now.
It's ridiculous. We keep coming, with obviously purely political agendas. Something you read in a paper that says that the governor of Florida is anti-gay or anti-this or whatever. So Sheriff Mendrick showed up, so he must be, and especially because he was wearing his uniform. It's a bunch of baloney. I mean, I can't wait during the next 4 years to go through this at every single meeting. We're gonna try and take pot shots at people who aren't here, and then call that it's some type of good government. It's ridiculous. Go have a news conference outside, but don't waste my time.
Okay, before I call on Member Ozog, I do want to point out that I don't think that we want to talk about Sheriff Mendrick not being inclusive or, not being being anti-LGBTQ, because there's no evidence of that. So we don't want to bring that into this meeting especially. So Member Ozog.
I'd like to point out that not only do we have a law enforcement shortage of employees throughout the country, we also have a teacher shortage. And I think after COVID in particular, we're dealing with both types of jobs. You have a lot of stress, people feel endangered, et cetera. So this is not related necessarily to laws passed, et cetera. We are going through a time of great change in employment, et cetera. So it's really not appropriate to blame a specific piece of legislation when there's no proof. And I think that was Member Chaplin's point. And I think in terms of her other point about wearing uniforms, et cetera, when you are wearing a uniform, you do represent the county. So I think that it's worth considering what type of event, and this is for anyone who's on the county board or any elected official, what type of event are you at? And I think that's worth considering. Thank you.
Member you.
Thank you. I just also want to thank Member Chaplin for reiterating the diversity and inclusion pillar of the county board. And I do believe, I agree with Member Chaplin that by wearing his uniform, he did make a political statement. And I mean, even when we're campaigning, we have to be very careful about what we're wearing. I believe police officers are always admonished, not to go to campaign events in their police uniform. And I think there's a reason for that. I just want to state that the city of Elmhurst, as a resident of Elmhurst, they did not condone this event. They were not told about this event ahead of time. And I understand that the police chief, he had to coordinate very last minute security and our police response. And personally, I was at the Spread Love event for the Elmhurst Pride Collective because we believe that, Mr. DeSantis, he's made very specific anti-LGBTQ comments, and specifically he wants to do many other things with regard to African-American history. So for all those reasons, I just want to support Member Kaplan's statements.
Thank you, Member you. Member Guston first, and then Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Chair. I take into account everyone's comments here this morning. Not sure this is the appropriate venue for this kind of conversation, and hope these conversations won't continue going forward because there's other business we have to get done. The negative comments about enforcement, be it about the sheriff or any other member of the enforcement families, doesn't help other people want to get into that career. So being very careful about what we say about people in the enforcement community, I think will help us moving forward to get more people engaged and wanting to serve in the enforcement. That goes countrywide, countywide, statewide, citywide. I will say, many of you probably don't know, last week I was in court here in DuPage County as there was a hate crime against me, and the individual labeled me. And so I hope that we stop labeling people and we treat each other like human beings and just look at each other as human beings once and for all, and not try to divide each other by what we think each other is or thinks or believes or anything like that. It is very emotional. It is very saddening because we are all human beings and we should all love and care about each other. So I hope that we won't continue this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Guston. Member Krajewski.
Thank you. I've heard a lot of the comments here about Sheriff Mendrick in his uniform. I spoke with Sheriff Mendrick at about 10 o'clock yesterday morning about a number of things. He said to me that he was invited through the FOP to an event. However, he had to work the event. He said the FOP had put something on their Facebook page. As a result, there was a number of groups that were talking about protesting. They were concerned about security. So probably if you had him in here, to be telling you he was working all day yesterday, coordinating a lot, probably with the Elmhurst Police Chief also for security. So he said he had to work the event because of all the protesters that were coming. So I assume when he's in his uniform out there, he's probably doing his job. So how that's a political statement, I don't know, but I personally spoke to the sheriff. I'm not sure anybody else in here did, but maybe they did, but I would think when he's working, he's in his uniform. So I'll bet you if you find out, he spent a lot of time yesterday working on the event that was there, potential protesters that were showing up, monitoring things that were going on for security purposes. I think he was doing his job in his uniform. But that's just based on my conversation with the sheriff and what he told me that he had to work the event yesterday.
Thank you, Member Krajewski. Member Childress.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My comment is not towards Mendrick, Sheriff Mendrick. My real comment and my real concern is for DeSantis and how it affects us as DuPage County. Is we have a man that flew up from Florida that is actively trying to recruit our officers away to Florida. Now that does affect DuPage County. And I just want to make sure, I want to put it on the record that my objection is that we're here talking about the shortage of officers that we have, and we have a person from another state coming here trying to poach our officers to come to Florida. That was the message that I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Childress. Any other comments? Member Cahill.
As an Elmhurst resident, I live a couple blocks from the Knights of Columbus Hall.
I just want to point out that to everyone, that this is a private event. I was not invited. I don't know who was invited. It was invitation only. It was very secure event. It was a private event. So I didn't know anything about it. And I just want to say that I'm sure the sheriff was there in the capacity of working. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Cahill. Any other discussion? Okay, that's it for old business. Any new business? Okay, so then can we get a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Okay, we are adjourned.